In the headlines, federal government says recommencing AbujaKaduna train operations now will be insensitive. Troops kill 6, arrest dozens at Boko Haram market in Borno. NLC calls for downward review of license costs for broadcast organizations. And on the foreign scene, South African unions protest high cost of living. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. The federal government says it cannot resume the AbujaKaduna train services for now because it will be insensitive to the plight of families whose loved ones are still in captivity. The Minister of Transportation, Muazu Sambu, disclosed this to State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House. The Transport Minister, who was addressing questions on the suspension of the service following the March 28 train attack, noted that the government is still investigating the right type of surveillance equipment to procure in order to effectively monitor the tracks along the AbujaKaduna route, as well as concessioning it in a public-private partnership arrangement. Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council approved 1.49 billion naira for the repair works to be carried out at the Nigerian Railway Corporation. Troops of the 21 Armoured Brigade in Bama have reportedly killed 6 Boko Haram insurgents during a raid on an illegal market established by the terrorists in Bama local government area of Borno State. Reports say the operation took place on Wednesday at about 11 a.m. when the troops, in collaboration with the Civilian Joint Task Force, stormed the illegal market known as Dola Market at Bararam village in Bama. The traders were reportedly selling items such as maize, beans, salt, used clothes, drugs and petrol to the insurgents in exchange for scrap metal. The suspects have reportedly been transferred to the brigade headquarters in Bama for investigation. Meanwhile, the police in Yobe State have paraded 2 suspected soldiers and 3 others in connection to the alleged murder of Islamic cleric Sheikh Goni Aisami Gashua along the Gashua-Kanu Road in the state. The soldiers are Lance Corporal John Gabriel and Lance Corporal Adamu Gideon, both of Reki Battalion, Guru, Yobe State. Police spokesperson Dumgus Abdul Karim said the suspects will be charged to court. The principal suspect, Lance Corporal Gabriel, admitted to the crime and explained how he killed the cleric and seized his car. According to a statement signed by the Army spokesperson Kennedy Anyam, any soldier found wanting will face the wrath of the law. And still talking security, the 4 Catholic sisters abducted last Sunday at Umulolo community along Okigwe Enugu expressway in Imo State have been released. The sisters were said to be on the way to morning mass when they were kidnapped. Imo State Police spokesman Michael Abatam on Wednesday, who confirmed their release, refused to reveal if ransom money was paid. The abduction of the Catholic sisters was the latest attack in the southeast, where separatist tensions are on the rise. And to politics now, where the People's Democratic Party members and supporters of his presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar are calling for an amicable resolution of the crisis between the party and the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. The group, which made the call during its general meeting, which held in Abuja, says its chances will be affected in 2023 if it fails to approach the poll as a united house. The report.
After my commission of projects, nobody should say Wike has started, though. Because when I start, I've been on my own. They are looking for trouble when there's no trouble.
As the crisis in the People's Democratic Party brews, party loyalists and other faithfuls have expressed worry over the chances of their party in the general election. These supporters are no different.
To be honest, in life, there has to be conflict. in every organization. All we hope for is that it is resolved amicably. You see, the truth about life is if there is no conflict, then it means you are not even living life the way it should.
They are, however, optimistic that the crisis will be resolved before the commencement of presidential campaigns.
Your tongue, there's this saying in Hausa, harce da haƙori, have misunderstandings sometimes, and I'm sure this is one of them, but we are hopeful that it will be resolved very soon. Everything is being done, and we also are appealing to both parties to please sit on the table and resolve this.
The Director General of the group, who spoke to journalists on the sidelines of its general meeting, explained that it will not be business as usual in the general election, as vote buying would be difficult to perpetrate.
I don't think that vote buying will sell at this point, because with the security that have gathered already, if you are trying to do that, you'll be caught, and once you're caught, you know what it is. So I am advising anybody planning a fraud for that to please disengage from it, because it will not take you anywhere.
Mrs. Dike also called on women to actively participate in determining Nigeria's next set of leaders.
I encourage all the women and the youth to ensure that they have their PVC. That is your power, and that is what will tell who you become tomorrow. Because if you vote for a candidate that will show you the way or teach you where you will fish, then you've made it in life, not a principal that will give you fish. Tomorrow you start looking for another one.
They are, however, confident in the chances of their flag bearer Atiku Abubakar and pledge to work for his victory in the election. Sagir Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, on Tuesday, met with leader of Afenifere, Ayo Adebanjo, and members of the South and Middle Belt Leadership Forum. In a tweet about the event, the former Anambra State governor also noted that the national leaders of the Labour Party and other stakeholders were present at the meeting. Although the agenda of the meeting was not disclosed, it is most likely to be about the 2023 general elections. Reports say Adebanjo and the South and Middle Belt Leadership Forum have been critical of both the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party and may consider backing Obi for president. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, for the first time on Wednesday, physically attended the Federal Executive Council meeting at the Council Chambers of the State House, Abuja, after a successful surgical operation on July 16th at a private hospital in Ikeja, Lagos. He underwent the surgery after a fracture in his leg, an injury he sustained while playing squash. Osinbajo, who was discharged on July 25th, has been recuperating at home and attending official functions virtually. The Vice President was welcomed by ministers and presidential aides at the Federal Cabinet meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. Also in attendance at the Federal Executive Council meeting were the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and the National Security Advisor, retired Major General Babagana Mongunu. And as Plateau State farmers continue recounting their losses this year due to the blight disease attack which ravaged their farms and destroyed crops, the Plateau State government has assured that it will support the farmers to nip the situation in the bud. The State Commissioner for Agriculture, Hosea Finangwa, who gave the assurance, said the decision is to help cushion the effect of the disease attack on the farmers. Finangwa, who put the loss incurred by the farmers at about 18 billion across the state, said due to the magnitude of the loss, they have to report the disaster to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, adding the team from the ministry has visited the affected farms spread across 9 local government areas to assess the disaster.
Our project, which government brought in, is supposed to give us
wood seeds to fight those potato blights. So there's a component of infrastructure that has to do with tissue culture laboratory to produce good quality certified seeds for farmers to replace the old, degenerated, and disease-prone old seeds that farmers have been recycling over the years. So, but that one takes time. So what we thought was, how do we do to reduce farmers' suffering and losses? So we went into dialogue with agro dealers. We called them together with the farmers. We called the PDP, that is Plateau Agricultural Development Project, who own the farmers, because we will come and we will go. But we also brought together the National Road Crop Research Institute, and we went to the farmers' field, and we did field demonstration.
And from agriculture, we take a look at health, where the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has said that a total of 3,610 suspected cases of cholera, including 91 deaths, have been recorded in 31 states this year. The Director General, NCDC, Ifedayo Adetifa, disclosed this on Tuesday during the ministerial press briefing by the Ministry of Health. He said of the suspected cases since the beginning of the year, the age group less than 5 years was the most affected age group for male and female. Adetifa also said from January 1st to August 14th, there were 530 suspected cases of monkeypox, 220 confirmed cases, and 4 deaths from 29 states. While saying that there is currently no case of Marburg virus disease in Nigeria, he said Nigeria had the capacity to test for the virus at the National Reference Laboratory in Abuja and the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital Laboratory Center for Human and Zoonotic Virology. You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still ahead on the news. How graduates employs others with block making. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. Federal government says recommencing AbujaKaduna train operations now will be insensitive. And troops kill 6, arrest dozens at Boko Haram market in Borno. And in other news now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has called on the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, to review the costs of operating licenses for broadcast organizations in the country. NLC President Ayuba Waba made the call in a statement days after the NBC announced the withdrawal of the broadcast licenses of more than 50 radio and television stations in the country. The NBC based the decision on the failure of the stations to renew their licenses. But Waba, in a statement, said the decision failed to take into account economic challenges that have hurt the operations of the stations, arguing that the stations did not deliberately refuse to renew the licenses. While acknowledging that the NBC had a regulatory duty in the broadcast industry, Waba stressed that the withdrawal of the licenses is a little too drastic, adding that not only it affected the media houses, but also their staff and millions of Nigerians who follow programs from the affected media houses. Youth in the country have been told not to rely on white-collar jobs, but embrace entrepreneurship to enable them live a decent life and contribute to national development. The advice was part of a chat Trust TV's Kabir Lawal had when he met a graduate who makes blocks as a means of livelihood. The report.
Sandokuye holds a university degree, but has not stood on his way as he makes blocks to take care of himself and his family. His decision to venture into the trade is as a result of economic situation of the country, where white-collar jobs for the ordinary Nigerian are gradually becoming extinct. He told Trust TV that he finds fulfillment in block making.
Well, I'm into bricks making, and by the grace of God, God has been helping us despite the challenges of the country, but we are still managing it, and you can see how the economic of our nation is going, but we are still trying to see how we can meet up with our daily living through this means.
Kuye added that due to the level of unemployment in the country, taking up block making was not a difficult decision, as the can-do spirit which sets the average Nigerian apart both home and diaspora is alive in him.
So many challenges. You know, as an undergraduate then, it wasn't really easy. You know, joining my studies together with incoming business like this, it was not easy. It was not really easy. I could go for lectures. I have to, look up to the workers, because one thing with this work, once you are not there, the workers do whatever they want to do, because they are after their money, and that is just the truth. They are after their money, but you just have to give them a close supervision, and without that, you are bound to lose a lot.
Sandokuye further stated that apart from making a living from the trade, he now employs other youths. He called on the government and public-spirited individuals to invest in the future of the youth to make them self-reliant. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The federal government says Nigeria produces 2,000 to 3,000 doctors annually, disregarding the brain drain attributed to the medical sector in the country. However, some stakeholders refuted the claim, stating that Nigeria's health system is struggling with scarcity of health professionals. Christiana Amadou tells us more in this report.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Afenifere, has disregarded the claim of brain drain in the medical sector, stating that Nigeria has enough medical doctors to cater for its growing population. The minister further said the federal government is working to replace doctors who have left the nation or have resigned. He said the country is producing up to 2,000 to 3,000 doctors every year in the country, and the number leaving is less than 1,000. Reacting to the minister, the chief executive officer of NOI Polls, Dr. Chike Wangu, in an interview with Trust TV, said the country does not have enough doctors to meet the health demands of Nigerians.
I'll start with saying it's great that we produce 3,000 doctors on a yearly basis, but it's nowhere near enough. We're a very large country, and based on WHO requirements, we're supposed to have 1 doctor to 600 people. At the moment, we have about one doctor to 4,000 to 5,000 people, so we still have a lot to go. And statistically, for us to be able to meet the WHO standards, we need to be producing 10,600 doctors on a yearly basis. So 3,000, 10,600, we still have a long way to go, and this is coupled with the fact that we have doctors emigrating on a daily basis.
Dr. Wangu further called on the government to address challenges belaboring the sector to increase economic productivity.
To start with, health is wealth. Let's not make mistakes about that. For you to be able to move your economy, you need to have a healthy population. To buttress this, the indices of development are usually things around health indicators, mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate. That's what you use to measure development of a society. So you can't address the economy of society without addressing the health sector first. And then we are losing professionals, trained doctors on a daily basis. This is going to leave us at a point where we will never be able to have enough doctors to cater to our population, and we won't be able to achieve our full potential and be able to improve our economy. We need to find a way to retain our doctors in as much as we're still trying to produce more for us to be able to move our economy forward. It's as simple as that.
According to estimates by the United Nations Commission for Trade and Development, each African professional lost to other countries represents a loss of $184,000. Experts therefore believe it is unequivocally important to nip this scourge in the bud. Christiana Amodu Otinya, Trust TV News.
The Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, NEPZA, may have to return the sum of 13.3 billion naira to the federal government as unclaimed funds. Chairman of the ad hoc committee investigating the suspicious and unclaimed funds in various accounts in commercial banks and MDAs, Onyime Idem, stated this in Abuja on Tuesday at the resumed hearing of the committee. Idem and members of the committee frowned at NEPZA's inability to reconcile its accounts in line with the position of the committee from documents presented to it by the consultant. Earlier, NEPZA's Director of Finance and Accounts, Oyeshola Oyekule, who represented the Managing Director of the authority, said it remitted 3.92 billion naira into the Federation account instead of 2.3 billion naira, adding that excess is as a result of a circular from the Ministry of Finance, which mandated the agency to pay 25% of operating surplus into government's account.
I believe that the DFA has listened to you and that it will be willing to take advantage of the window that we are about to create again for them. We have already done that in the past, but I did not make use of it. So based on the submissions of my colleagues, I would like to say that this committee is going to avail you again another 1 week grace period to ensure that this issue is properly resolved. Failure to do that, the committee will not have a choice than to compel your agency to refund the sum of 13.3 billion naira to federal government. That is the stand of the committee. Thank you very much. So 1 week from today, today is Tuesday, so we expect that next week, Thursday, you should turn in the reports of the reconciliation that you are going to do with the consultant. So we give you Thursday next week as the date for submission of the position of the reconciliation.
Then, when we scrutinize what the auditor, the consultant did, I tried to call him, concern him as a junior professional colleague. His income, he just added all the income that went from government, both the capital fund, the personnel fund, the solar intervention fund, the service right fund, and project mine as a special economic zone intervention as part of revenue, which he based his own surplus on. When we finish everything as a socially responsible organization, sir, as at 2021, as at 2020, I'm going to tell you, sir, Honorable Chairman and member, that NEPZA was owing only 162 million naira, which I have a receipt for the following year. You know, there's always an intervention period. If a year ends in 31st December, it's not likely that 31st December you pay. But between as from February, we pay this money and we have our receipt.
The ambassador of the People's Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to Nigeria, Wendell Delandro, says his country is ready to expand trade and gas development relations with Nigeria for economic benefits. Delandro made this known during the commemoration of the 60th independence anniversary of Trinidad and Tobago in Abuja. The news agency of Nigeria reports that this year-long celebration is with the theme and hashtag Together60. According to Delandro, Trinidad and Tobago and Nigeria share similarities in rich culture and natural resources, which could be properly harnessed and traded for mutual benefit. The Director, Regions, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Tunde Mustafa, congratulated Trinidad and Tobago on the economic achievements it has recorded in the past 60 years and assured of Nigeria's commitment to strengthening its relationship with Trinidad and Tobago.
We have an industrial state that we started way back in 79 using our gas. I know for a fact that in the south, in Port Harcourt, Elsa, Rivers, the states that have the oil, they are flaring gas. That is sacrilege to me. And that's one of the things that in fact, when I came here in 2018, I spoke to the Nigerian Gas Association about it. We brought up people to show Nigeria what they can do with this flare gas.
And hundreds of South Africans protested in the executive and legislative capitals of Pretoria and Cape Town on Wednesday against inflation that has soared to a 13-year high. The protests were led by the Trade Union Group Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, a long-time ally of the governing African National Congress. Labour unrest often affects sectors such as mining during wage negotiations, but it is rare for COSATU, South Africa's biggest union, to lead a national protest. The Department of Public Service and Administration said in a circular to government departments that state employees participating in the COSATU-led protest, which was supported by the unions from other federations, will not be paid. And in sports, Daniel Ricciardo will leave McLaren at the end of the season. The team said they and the Australian had mutually agreed with the split, but McLaren admitted they had precipitated the move. The announcement is expected to be followed by confirmation that McLaren have signed Australian Oscar Piastri, the Formula 2 champion and Alpine reserve. McLaren said they would confirm their 2023 driver lineup in due course. The team already has Lando Norris under contract until the end of 2025. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe to watch us live on YouTube and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.